Today we're gonna make those amazing lemon bars. They're perfectly tart with a soft, tender shortbread crust, and the lemon curd on top is soft and it melts in your mouth, but it still holds a perfect line when it's cut. These are amazing. So lemon bars are pretty easy, just 2 steps. We are gonna bake the crust, so I'm gonna go ahead and get that started, but it's super fast. We are just going to put all of our ingredients in the bowl of a stand mixer. You can do this by hand, but I would soften the butter first. AP flour, cornstarch, confectioner's sugar, and butter. So pop that in your stand mixer. Paddle attachment, fit her in there, and just start her on low and let it cut in. You want to let it keep going until a smooth dough forms, and then you're done. So we're going to let that sit aside, and we are going to prepare our pan. I'm going to do this in an 8x8. You can do it in a 9x9. Whatever you have, that's what you should use. So I'm just basically taking a whole piece of parchment and then folding it in half, and then I'm going to line my dish like that. Grab your baking spray, just put a little like in the bottom to stick it, and then you're going to put one in, and then give it another, and then you're going to put the other one crossways. Easy peasy. Now you've got wings to lift your lemon bar out. Set her aside. Alright, so I've got some ice water here. That's what I'm going to use to bloom my gelatin. I am going to stabilize my lemon curd. You could opt to not use any gelatin, but your bars aren't going to be quite as perfect, and that's fine. Just know. I'm going to use sheet gelatin because I prefer the final texture and also flavor of it. And I'm going to use 1.5. I will link below to where you can get sheet gelatin. And then we're going to take our gelatin and place it in our ice water. The ice is just kind of like cheap insurance to make sure it doesn't overbloom by the time that we are ready to use it. Don't try and rush your gelatin if you forget to bloom it in warm water, because it will just dissolve and then you'll be like, oh no! Meanwhile, we are going to whisk together all of our ingredients for the lemon curd. I've got eggs, egg yolks. These are actually the yolks from that s'mores pie, but you know, the world's your oyster here. I'm going to go ahead and whisk my eggs before I add any of my other ingredients, just to make sure that they don't coagulate at all when I add the sugar. So you do want to make sure that everything for your lemon curd is completely mixed, that there's no stray streaks of yolks or whites, that everything is perfectly homogeneous, because you know any of that will be in your final curd, and that will be sad. Okay. Oh, look what we've got here. Perfect timing. We've got, okay, it's not hot, just making sure. We've got a beautiful dough that is formed in here, and we are ready to press this into our prepared pan. Look at that. Now I have preheated my oven to 350 degrees, and because this bakes just a little bit. Okay, so we've got our prepared pan, and we are just going to, I kind of just break it up and put it in there in little places. Makes it easier to spread after. Right, so you don't end up with like super fat bits and like areas that have no crust. All right, and then just kind of press it out. The lining of the pan makes it a little bit more difficult to press out, but it's worth it in the end when you don't have to fight your lemon bars to get out. No fighting with your product. So just be patient. You can also kind of smear it. Just make sure that you kind of hold one side of it, or your parchment will just move along with you, and it defeats the purpose. So I like to kind of get it there, and then I smear it to smooth it out. She you get into your corners. Just make it all nice and pretty. Okay, and we're gonna pop this in our preheated oven, 350. It's gonna take about like 10 minutes. You just want like a light golden brown and for it to set a little bit. So while that is baking, we are gonna continue to whisk together we're gonna continue making our lemon curd, okay? Now, you can put lemon curd into a warm crust, just FYI, so don't stress about that too much. Next, I'm gonna put my sugar in. Whisk that in really well. Salt. And then finally, my lemon juice. Just go ahead and kind of slowly add that. There's a decent amount of lemon juice in this because I like a tart lemon bar. I don't want an overly sweet situation. So go ahead and kind of whisk that in there. It's a lot of lemon juice, so just don't add it all at once or you're gonna get lemon juice like everywhere. Now, we've got all of that added in there. It's beautiful, it's smooth, there's no bits of egg whites or yolks or anything. Our gelatin has been bloomed and I'm going to squeeze it. You can leave it in there if you want, but you don't need to. Just gonna squeeze it, grab a little bowl, place it in there, and then we can get rid of our water. And we've got a spatula. And all we're gonna do is sit and stir this over medium heat. You wanna stir it constantly because you don't want to scramble your eggs. You'll have like a really bizarre breakfast. You can also make this over a bain-marie, so you can fill a pot with simmering water and put the curd in a bowl on top, and then you can mix everything together, not the gelatin, and kind of let it curd on its own and just kind of whisk it every now and again, but that will take a lot longer. Okay, so it's starting to thicken, so I'm gonna go ahead and turn it down just a little bit so that I don't overcook it too fast. And I wanna you can also take it off briefly. You don't want it to boil. And so if it's, threatening any sort of boiling or anything, you're gonna wanna take it off before it has a chance to do that. And it has started, it's going to curd up, so you want to go ahead and, if it does it a little faster than you're prepared for, then you can just give it a whisk and it'll be nice, it'll smooth out. So do you see how it is nice and thick in there and it's smooth and silky, right? So we're going to add a bit of butter and that's going to give it an extra silky texture in the finished bar. I guess it's optional, but is butter ever really optional? No. No. Now, if you have any sort of lumps or bumps in your curd, if there was a situation that occurred, do not stress. You can just pass it through a sieve, a fine sieve, like a chinois, or even just, whatever you have, a mesh strainer. Pass it through while it's still warm, or your job's gonna be really hard. All right, and we are gonna add our gelatin that's bloomed and squeezed. And if it doesn't melt, then we will put her back on the stove. All right, look at this smooth, luscious curd that we have. Oh yeah, she is pretty. She is pretty. That is hot. I'm just gonna take it and pop it out of my pan and put it in here just to kind of, cool her down a little bit. It's not necessary, it's just so that she stops cooking, and also that we, the faster it cools before you put it in the crust, the faster it will cool in total. So, there she is. I'm gonna put a piece of plastic wrap on top just to keep it from getting a skin. And if your place is particularly cool, which mine is not, then it will keep it from cooling off too much before you're ready to use it. Okay, so our crust is out. It baked about 20 minutes. It would have baked a lot faster in a metal pan, but this is what I have. So you can see that it's like a little golden brown there on the outside. It's set in the center if you touch it. It'll crisp up as it cools. And we're just gonna go ahead and pour our still warm lemon curd on top. Ooh-wee, look at her. She is pretty. She is pretty. Now you can also just let your crust cool and then put your filling on top. It doesn't really matter. So I'm just gonna take a little offset and spread out my curd on top. Spread out nice and even. All right. Oh, so good. All right, so our lemon bars are ready. This is actually still really hot, so I'm gonna let it cool just a bit and then I'm gonna pop it in the fridge. And you want it to set at least 2 hours, maybe overnight. Because my crust is still hot, I might have to just let it set overnight. And then I'll cut it tomorrow. The time is now. It is time to try. So it's the next morning and we are ready to break into these. Don't literally break into them. I guess you could, doesn't matter. I'm not judging. So now that we've basically prepared our pan perfectly, right? So we can like pull this out, just kind of like give it a little tug to release that bottom. I mean, hello. And then we're gonna cut. So, there's a couple ways you can do this. You can just like whoop, peel it off, but we're gonna lose a little bit on the sides because it's kind of stuck to the parchment. So we could take a little offset, put it in our hot water. Now none of this is totally necessary. Like if you're not like looking for the perfect cut, then you can just slice away, okay? But you know, I can't help myself. So here we are. So just kind of run your warm offset across the edges, and then that will release it from the parchment in a nice clean fashion, right? You know, if you were really extra, then you could, you know, kind of clean up the edges if you want, with your offset or with the knife. Now you can peel this off if you'd like and just kind of cut on the bottom is firm, so you can just kind of pop it out. I know. One of these days you're gonna trust me. All right, and then we've got our lemon bar and it's totally ready to cut. So I'm gonna take my knife. I'm gonna cut this into, let's make 9 generous ones, shall we? Make some people very happy. Okay, so then that means we're gonna cut into thirds, basically in each direction. You see how nicely that cuts? Oh yeah. Oh, that middle piece is gonna be bomb. Okay, well, here we are. So these would be perfect right now, but I am going to dust them with just a little bit of powdered sugar, just to kind of get that nice, beautiful top, even though I love the color of lemon bars. Also at this point, you could make a meringue because more is more. You could use my marshmallow fluff frosting. That recipe would be super easy and you could just pipe it on here in a beautiful decorative way. You could plop it on and toast it. I mean, I'm just saying that like the world is your oyster. Okay, so I'm just gonna take a little bit of confectioner sugar here, and I wish I had a finer sieve, but I don't at home, so here we are. Oh my goodness, but like how pretty. And that's it. Now we've made the perfect lemon bars. I'm just gonna go ahead and take a bite just because. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. The lemon curd, the lemon topping is perfect. It's like soft and melts in your mouth, but it still holds together in a beautiful line. It's tart and bright with just like a bit of sugar to balance it out. And then you have that soft shortbread crust that just kind of like crumbles and mixes all in with the lemon, and it's everything, people. Yeah, she's good.